Hey everybody, this is Jet for Sick Drummer Magazine, and today we have with us a guest who went from playing drums on the streets of Norway to playing drums for audiences all over the world. We have Baard Kolstad of Leprous. Thank you for joining us today, Baard.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
So, Baard, it seems like drums came very natural to you at a young age. So how old were you when you started banging around on things? And when did you realize that you had a real knack for drumming?
Well, I think it was when I was about 3 years old. I had some drumsticks at home because my sister went to the local school brass band, and my father was one of the parent organizer at that time. So we have some footage actually where I bang around with some sticks on vacuum cleaners and different stuff. But I didn't actually start to play drums for real until I was 9 for some reason. And that was also in the same school brass band. And I remember that we had to sign up on school if you wanted to play an instrument in the school brass band. That could be everything from trumpet, clarinet, tuba, flute, and drums. But I only wanted to play drums, of course. And then they called my parents the day after and said, "Yeah, Baard signed up for this." And I remember my father coming in and said, "You're going to start in the local school brass band and to play drums. Then you have to practice, and then you have to do 1 year. You cannot just stop after." Some few months. So now we're gonna pay for this. You need to go full year, and then it was like, okay, I said. And after that, it has been 100%, what I like to do. So.
And now, so did you have to take lessons? I mean, was that all part of your band deal? You took lessons and stuff like that through that?
Yeah, well, we had an instructor there to learn how to hold the sticks and to read music, actually. So I had the pleasure of being able to read rhythmical notation for as long as I've been playing drums. So, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your days as a street drummer. I mean, where did that idea come from, and what kind of music were you playing out on those streets, Baard?
It started very firstly that myself and my father tried to find out what kind of summer job I could have that maybe was music related. And then we said, maybe it's playing on the street or something. But how do we do that? Because drums are way too noisy and stuff. So the very first time I played on the street was just with my electronic kit for some reason. Just brought a very bad amplifier out and sat and played a little bit in the streets of Drammen. That's outside Oslo. That worked pretty well, but not amazing. And then I was on a cabin with a friend of mine who played saxophone, and we saw American street drummer, very good. And that was a YouTube. This was back in 2006, so YouTube was completely new. And that video went very viral. He was only playing buckets, and then we just let's try to find some buckets where we are now and try to set up a kit. And he plays sax, and we went out and played a little bit on the streets near the cabin place, and that worked really well. And I was only playing buckets and stuff, and then I started to bring a friend of mine that I teached a little bit to play drums. He was a little bit younger than me. Kristoffer Landa is his name, a good friend of mine, and he kind of brought a little piece of a drum kit out to play some few beats, and then I played with boxes and stuff over that. And that also worked really well. And then from time to another, I sat on the drum kit as well, and that worked very well. And then slowly but sure, it just ended up being a full drum kit on the streets of Oslo, and that started to be big business as well. So, yeah, year after year, since 2007 actually, and until 2014, I did that. I continued playing on the streets, even though I played festivals and stuff with Leprous and Borknagar and stuff like that. There was no doubt what was the best paid. That was the street drumming. For
wow.
Sure.
Did you ever have any competition on the streets, Baard?
You kind of have to pay a little bit mutual respect to the other musicians, because it was very noisy what I did, so I tried to sit away from the other, and some spots are better than the others, and then it was rules, okay, play 30 minutes each and stuff like that. So yeah, had to pay a little respect. But there was also always some local alcoholics on the sides that called the police to make them remove me and stuff. So it's like that was pretty. I think the police officers was pretty like not pissed off, but just like, oh, what is this? When local alcoholics call them and can you remove that drummer so I can enjoy my beer? I honestly think they thought it was pretty cool to. But I was pretty lucky because in Oslo there has never been like a very concrete rule on noise on the streets. They just say. 1 year it was, if you play with an amplifier, then you have to apply to the local governments. If you play with an amplifier, but I don't play with an amplifier. But it still makes 4 times as much noise as an amplifier would do, because the buildings and everything in the main shopping street of Oslo, like, so it was like, okay, no, so when the police came to me and said, do you have permission to sit here? No, but I have a paper that proves that I don't need permission. So there was very much politics around that as well. And my father helped me actively a lot when different policemen, bar or store owners came, and it always went fine. And if they tried to throw me away, the audience very often started to boo at them. So I had a lot of help from the audience.
I was going to ask you if, you had like a regular following that would come check you out when you were out there playing.
Yeah, a little bit. There was always someone that ended up standing there every day, and I just started wondering, they were not homeless people or something, but they were there like every time, and I just, do they only hang around on the streets? But I guess that's in all cities, that you always have some local heroes that is hanging around. But had some great moments here where a lot of gypsies, homeless gypsies from East Europe, were dancing around, and a lot of, it was kind of what can I say, a culture. Mm-hmm. Lots of different cultures just met at the same time and started dancing and have fun together, especially in the night where people was a little bit drunk. A lot of bachelor parties as well, and yeah.
Did you ever have any troubles with those alcoholics, like throwing a bottle at you or anything, Baard?
No, definitely not. They were just making the vibe way better. I've actually never had any problem.
That's good.
Never someone who just stole anything or anything from the box. So I think people don't dare to do it because there's so many people around. So it's been a very supportive and kind of very special story of my life, yeah, for sure. But I kind of got very used to it in the end. But every beginning of the season, because it's very cold in Norway, so you cannot start play until before May, mm-hmm. and you have to end in September. Every beginning of every season, it was like, shit, this is a pretty crazy way of living the life, playing on the streets like this. So
at least you were doing something that was fun for you, and you didn't have to, work at a factory or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. It was fun, but again, I felt very repetitive sometimes. And
right.
Sometimes I just, what am I doing? I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. But for my creativeness on the drums and stuff, it was a very, very good way to push myself, because I had to make myself interesting,
So, and, what did you play? I mean, what kind of music did you play? Did you just improvise every day, or did you play, covers or anything? Well, what kind of stuff did you play out there?
It was definitely not covers or stuff like that. It had to hit people's hearts somehow when just doing drumming, but trying to variate a little bit between different rhythms and Latin American beats, mm-hmm. sometimes, and sometimes just change totally and do a funk beat that people really can dig too, but also a lot of metal and double bass stuff. People thought that was very cool, and people who's not into that kind of music at all, they still ended up thinking it was pretty cool seeing like a double pedal something. They haven't seen it, so mm-hmm. you kind of do those cheap tricks as well, and just starting doko 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 da, and then faster and faster and faster, and people start whoa. So some cheap tricks here and there, and some stick tricks always appeal to people, but tried always to have a build-up, and when I had to do a lot of drum solos at the same time for this, straight after each other for the same audience, had to have some kind of plan and build-up and how to kind of top it and do some different kind of beats and tempos and yeah.
So when did you decide I can't do this anymore? I gotta concentrate on my band.
It went. I played on the streets a little while into Leprous, and Leprous didn't earn any money until pretty recently, actually. So it was just the combo that I had the DJ and Drums Kickslip project, and slowly but sure my calendar became so full that I couldn't do it that much more, and I of course got a little tired of it in the end, and it also started to be maybe a little conflict of interests if I do drum solo stunts on event companies and they pay very well for that. Why should they pay very much for that if they know that I'm playing on the streets all the time and everybody can kind of see it for free? Even though they pay in the box, it's still for free, and it's not that, doesn't feel that exclusive anymore, and it can kind of send out a little wrong signals when you start getting 20 years old, 21 years old, and you're building a serious career. So it just went really natural. When I said I played from 2006 to 2014, it was 2014. I maybe played 2 or 3 times all together that year. A little bit more maybe, but I just felt natural to break it a little down. But I remember I got a fine for driving too fast with a trailer behind my car when I was supposed to get something in another town, and I was stopped by the police, and I was actually supposed to lose the license. I was listening to some Tesseract stuff, and I was so pumped, and I totally forgot on the highway that I drove too fast. And then I got a very high fine, and then I thought, shit, now I really need to go out on the streets and pay this bill. So I did that the same day, actually. But it was all based on doing Saturdays and Fridays, and it came to a point in my life where I want to be with friends as well.
Right.
I don't only want to. So it was also an interest of conflict for me that, okay, this is the only Saturday I have off with gigs and stuff. I should play on the street because it's a nice weather and I will earn some money, but I also want to have a life. Right. Yeah, but I'm pretty happy for how long it went and when I quit it. I think it was a good timing.
So tell us a little bit now about your time in some of the bands you've been in. I mean, Rendezvous Point, Borknagar, Leprous, all that.
Yeah. First of all, kind of the first band I really joined, that I still play in, is actually Rendezvous Point. That's my progressive metal band that I started in 2010 at the music college. But it has been we have only released one album. There's coming one now, which is really cool. But when I started playing with Leprous, it took so much time. So it just ended up being not so much time for Rendezvous Point as it probably should have been. But Borknagar, I was asked to play in the late 2011, actually. And my first gig was in 2012. That was via my friend Mr. Vortex from Dimmu Borgir Arcturus that I knew a little bit from the studio times. And that was pretty cool for me at that time because I was only 20 years old and I hadn't had a professional career like as a metal drummer or anything. And he said, yeah, we're going to play Inferno Festival in Norway. That's the very, very important black metal festival. And we're going to headline, and it's a headline spot on the Rockefeller, which is a venue in Oslo that is pretty famous. And whoa, I thought so. But I wasn't into that music or that band at all, actually. But I heard, I've listened to a lot of, prog and metal was kind of my thing. So, big epic soundscapes and stuff was really appealing to me also. So that was my way into Borknagar, and we only played one show in 2012, we played one show in 2013, we did a tour, and a couple of more festivals in 2014, and recorded the Winter Tries album, which was released early 2016, so it kind of went really slow there as well, because it's not a full-time active band at all. But Leprous, that started in the beginning of 2013, where I went on the music college with their previous drummer, very good drummer, Tomasz, and I said to him, "Hey, if you ever need a sub, let me know. I love Leprous, and I really enjoyed their album Bilateral. Yeah, that was the way into Leprous, and then slowly but sure I was just asked to do it full time.
And now you guys are currently out on tour. So how's the tour been going, and have you met with any challenges yet on this tour, Baard?
Oh, there's always some challenges on the tour. The thing on this tour is that we really don't have any free time, because it's a co-headline tour. We're not the first band, we're not the last band, and that makes like load-in, sound check and stuff being at times compared to meet and greet and stuff that you only have like 1 hour here and there. The days are so long. But it's a pleasure, of course, meeting fans every day on the meet and greet and playing shows for an audience that for sure has grown a lot for us the last 2 years.
So how do you...
It really made sense. This is our second US tour just this year.
Wow.
So we're building and building.
Keeping you busy.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for these tours? Like you said, you're going on night after night. And how do you prepare for the shows night after night like that, Baard?
I'm pretty embarrassed of saying that. I'm a really bad preparer at the shows. When I know the songs and I know the set and I'm comfortable with it, I'm not that dude that have any warm-up routines or something. I would say the first song is the warm-up, like physically. Mm-hmm. But so that's the worst answer I could give, and not a good tip either. I'm pretty all over the place in my head. Generally in life, so I can be thinking about completely different stuff before the first song is done. It's like, oh, that's true, I'm playing a concert. Okay, let's put on the pants properly. It's like, yeah. So sometimes if someone just asks me, what are you thinking about right now? And that's in the middle of the song. It's probably I was thinking about what kind of dinner I would have tomorrow, but yeah. But that's only because touring can be very repetitive.
Right.
But I'm trying to, and I for sure have my moments as well. And some shows are cooler than other shows, both playing wise and response wise. But it can be very repetitive, and I am very all over the place generally. So when things get too repetitive, I can think about whatever before or after the show, important or not important. So. Now,
do you like offer lessons or anything while you're out on tour to maybe break up some of the monotony?
Yeah, definitely. I'm offering lessons and trying to fit them in wherever it's possible. So it's just to hit me up if you see I'm getting closer to a city or something. That was for the listeners, yeah. If I don't know if. Yeah, so lessons are definitely offered.
And now, just in general, Baard, what's like your favorite kind of music to play?
Oh, favorite kind of music to play. I gotta say that like rhythmical, progressive music with a mood like Leprous stuff. That's right down my alley for sure. And that's kind of my main job. That's what I do the most. It's definitely where I belong. And what I like so much about Leprous aesthetic from all that, it's like, okay, we have progressive roots, and we should be able to play whatever time signature that needs to come up, but we're not doing it for the sake of it. We're trying to, if something is difficult, technical, or complicated, or something like that, it is to serve the musical purpose, and that's what I like. So. Because I kind of have a lot of tools, and I've been a freak when it comes to prog, fusion, and like crazy subdivisions, crazy coordination stuff. But now it's kind of time to how to use it tasty. And like Gavin Harrison, stuff like it was from Portmanship was a really, really important, very important, and Mike Portman, of course, also a very important source to kind of how to make all these things tasty when it's so much you can do. So, so progressive music, heavy, what can I say, sugarating? Is it something called that? Sugarate? No. what is it called when something repeats and you kind of get into it almost like psychedelic? Whatever. That's definitely right down my alley. So it is progressive music somehow. But when I've been playing 100 prog shows, it's really cool to suddenly do 4 or 5 EDM, more dance stuff, where it's also a lot of energy and different kind of rhythms I can put in and push myself creative and musical. So I like a lot of different music. But playing wise, it's definitely prog, rhythmical music. That is my thing.
And now, what are some of the things that you like continually want to strive to learn to play, or maybe what are some styles that you are like experimenting with?
I really want to be way better to just improvise, just sit down with another musician or two that is incredible good at improvising and just creating different moods based on only the musical actions in the moment as the language. And that's something when you do productions and tours like this, it really, I improvise a lot during the shows, but it's still over the same kind of song structure. So it limits the improvisational areas a little bit. So a little, like using jazz as a method rather than a genre is a little bit my way of thinking sometimes. I'm actively using my ears all the ways to, okay, how does this sound? How does this work together? So, but I would like some crazy gospel shop drumming and fat hip-hop beats and stuff like that. That's just so cool. I just really want to nail that. And a lot of metal drummers is also, fat hip-hop stuff. I can see more and more drummers liking to, inspired by drummers like Aaron Spears, Chris Dave, and different drum and bass drummers and stuff. So I'm pretty interested in lots of different drummers, not only metal drummers, for sure.
And now you're still fairly young guy, so I'm sure you have not damaged yourself much. But have you ever had any like drum-related injuries, and what do you do to avoid that stuff?
Drum-related injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very, very lucky. And bank in the table, as we say in Norway. Like, I hope it doesn't happen something harmful after this injury. But I haven't had any injuries or problems. Sometimes, like yesterday, for instance, when we played the song Third Law on Soundcheck, that's a pretty intense, hard-hitting song, and when I haven't warmed up at all, and I'm freezing outside and you're just going in and do the sound check, then that can be a little pain. Just have to warm up somehow and try to. But as I said, luckily the first song of the set now is very calm, so that's kind of a nice warm-up song somehow. But making sure the technique is on place and it has all been good for me. I haven't had any injuries.
Well, that's a good thing. So what kind of, do you do any kind of exercises or implement anything into your practicing to help you build, wrist and foot endurance?
Yeah, a very good question. Yesterday I had a student on tour, actually, where I spoke a lot about some Bill Bruford methods with downstrokes, taps, and upstrokes, and trying to understand the difference between an downstroke and upstroke to get the wrist moving, and how to prepare for your next stroke. And also, as many people ask me, I have a very open grip now. That kind of helps me a lot on the power and the flow. I've always been a pretty decent technical drummer. So it's been that has been my tools to work on groove and feel and time, which I'm not always have been so good at. But technically, and with feet, I've been very aware of whether I play into the kick drum head or out of the kick drum head. A lot of drummers are not even aware of that, and that goes for are you pushing the beater into the head while you play, so you kind of kill the sound a little bit, or you want a more open sound. And there's no right and wrong. You just have to be aware of what kind of sound you're actually producing. Some bass drums, kick drums without a hole, for instance, you will hear the difference very clear if you play into the head or out of the head. So if you're playing heel down, it's way easier to control that. I don't play heel down, I play heel up. I've always played heel up. That's a lot of because you really want that stadium rock power. You cannot get that with a heel down. But again, it limits you somehow when you play heel up, because then you're using a way bigger muscle group from your thigh and everything that naturally will make you a little bit more in front of the beat, because you're using so much power from above the source you're playing. So you just have to be aware of when I play heel up, especially soft parts and stuff, I have to be focused. And that's a timing issue I've had a little bit as well that I've been working on. So yeah, but there's no like secret heel toe technique or anything when I do double strokes or triple strokes on one foot. It's just that I've just practiced a lot on playing heel up. Yeah.
So what's your current setup, and who are some of your endorsements?
I'm endorsed by Pearl, Sabian, Vic Firth, and Remo. That's my first choices forever and ever. That's been my choices all the time. My ultimate setup, I change sometime here and there, but I like to use 2 snares. I have one smacky, punchy snare in the middle, 14 inch, so that used to be a Pearl Sensitone snare, but can also be a Pearl Master snare. Prefer 5.5 deep, and on the side I use a way more low-pitched Pearl reference fat snare, tuned very low, to have that kind of washy, very deep snare. To have 2 different snare sources. That's because the last album I used 4 different snares on a different
wow.
song. So sorry?
No, nothing. I would just say, wow, that's kind of cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I thought you said what model. Yeah, it's a reference. 6.5. So 4 different snares on one album definitely is because of that. Like, the snare is the heart of a drum kit. Mm-hmm. So that needs to be, I'm very aware of what snare sound I use on the albums. But live, you cannot switch it. At least for me, it would be so messy to switch between 4 snares. So I try to portionate which of those parts I use the different 2 of the snares. And tom-wise, I'm using 10, 12, 13 as the rack toms. I prefer those clear heads to make that smacky in-your-face sound, and coated heads on the floor toms to have a more organic building sound. It's easier to play dynamic on coated heads, I guess.
And what kind of pedals do you use?
Pearl Eliminator with chain.
And now, what piece of your equipment is the oldest? What piece of equipment have you had the longest?
Oh, yeah, the thing is, I use it so much, so I have to change it from time to another. But I always stick to the Pearl Eliminator double pedal. Mm-hmm. But now that has slowly, that's like since 2007. That was the first time I bought my own double pedal. Mm-hmm. I still have that pedal, but now, Pearl wanted me to check out the Demon Drive, and that's even better for me, actually. But I still like using the Eliminator beaters. So that's like, I can't play without them. I need my Eliminator beaters.
It's like your security blanket, Baard.
Yeah. It's a very nice all-around steady pedal. That is like, you can do whatever with it. And I need a pedal that can give me a lot of power. And it just needs to feel natural. And power and dynamic control is very important for me on the kick.
And Baard, what would you say is one of the most important lessons new drummers can learn while first starting out playing drums, and what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a very good and difficult question, of course. For the new drummers, I would say listen to music, get inspired, and just learn it. That was very harsh, actually, but actually... keep inspired, make sure you have a grip that makes sense. Do work a little bit on making the grip good, because it's going to help you so much in the future. There's so many incredible drummers that could have been way more incredible if their tools was just a little bit more. What can I say? If they hold the sticks away, it makes sense. Because there's so many also incredible drummers with very bad technique, and that is like it's so much easier to start running if you know how to walk. So the grip, don't forget about the grip, and of course enjoy music, keep inspired, check out videos and listen to stuff. And if you think, oh, this sounded very difficult, I don't think I can learn it, well, try to learn it, break it down. Today there's no limitations. You have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, like everywhere you can learn and get inspired. It's actually pretty spooky, and just go for it. Follow your heart. That's my advice for the new drummers. Yeah.
And now, besides your work with Leprous, what else do you have going on now that you want to talk about?
It is my kick slip duo, the DJ scratching project with drums, and where we try to make some fresh new remixes of different songs, trying to be different. But it's really difficult, you know. But we do a lot of live shows where we trying to give this electronic music more humanization and like a proper impressing live show. So that's my thing on the side, and Random Point for sure, a progressive metal band that will come with a new album pretty soon. We just need to find out a deal, and so lots of stuff going on. And Leprous is also a full-time.
And if people want to learn more about you and your career and what you have going on, what's like the best sites for everybody to go to for all of that?
Follow me on Instagram, Baard Kolstad official. That's where I keep people the most updated.
All right, so there you have it. Drummer Baard Kolstad, currently out on tour as of today's air date of November 20th. And Baard, good luck with the rest of the tour and your career.
Thank you so much. See you.